and Justin, it is fight week. It is fight week. DraftKings has this thing at less than 2-1. And I bring that to you because it was 2.5-1 the first time that they fought. Do you guys remember this? It was 2.5-1 favoring who the first time they fought? All those years ago, it was favoring who? Who was supposed to win the fight? Poirier? Wrong. Gaethje was the favorite. Gaethje was the official favorite going into that fight. And the line closed, by the way. They got ready to fight. It was even a little bit under 2-1. But it was still Gaethje. Now they've switched that. Poirier is the favorite, and it's a little less than 2-1. And it's a very interesting match. You got the two toughest. You got the baddest guys, man. And that's a broad stroke. But boy, they're up there. And if you look at body of work, if you look at lifetime and you look at career, I don't know that it is a broad stroke. I think it's pretty directly. It's Poirier and it's Gaethje. It's a wildly interesting match, but to remind you of the first one, it was a straight-up bludgeoning. Justin Gaethje, who is an All-American Division I wrestler who absolutely never uses his wrestling. Now, 50%, which is the defense, he does. He will scramble. You go back, you watch that Chandler fight. The difference in the fight between Chandler and Gaethje was Gaethje's defensive wrestling. He was able to scramble and stop those takedowns. And I only bring it to you because it seemed like going into that fight, if push comes to shove, Gaethje can turn to wrestling. And whether he's dominant there or just slightly better there, if he can just grab a takedown, it will be enough to steal that round. And that fight was stopped in the third round. It was a 3-round fight. It was about a 2.5 rounds is what it went. But scheduled for 3. And I bring that to you because Gaethje went down out of pure exhaustion. He had thrown everything that he has. He had fired every round that he had. He was out of bullets. And there's no reason to believe that this fight's going to be much different, considering that's how Gaethje fights everybody. He brings a hell of a storm, and usually there's nobody left standing. I say that because if we're taking the same thing that we've already seen, if we're taking the same thing with the same guys, and we believe that they're going to bring the same performance, it would seem as though when exhaustion set in, I mean complete exhaustion, the most tired I've ever seen Justin Gaethje fight. It wasn't because he was unprepared. It's because his activity level was that high. Because his volume and his output was that high. Is he going to learn the lesson and know how to extend that energy? It would seem as though if you're doing the same thing, except this time you've got to do it another 70%. Instead of 3 rounds, you're scheduled for 5. I think that that's meaningful. How meaningful? In what regard, right? With some guys, oh no, a different fighter. Learned a lesson, that was valuable, right? Didn't get what I want, but I got experience. And a lot of times those are just words, but a lot of times they're very true. You're dealing with one of the most stubborn fighters I've ever seen. Cody Garbrandt is more stubborn, right? I can't say Gaethje is the most stubborn. Cody is probably number 1. But Gaethje's amongst the most stubborn. And it's very hard to convince him or talk him out of something when you have that level of success. Why would you? Would you even try? I mean, his style is going to work over 90% of the time. Would you even try? I'm not sure that Trevor Whitman would, his coach. And I'm not sure he'd be wise to. I'm not sure you would want to change that athlete. Even if you were aware that, hey, that's not going to work every time. But if you knew that's going to work over 90% of the time, oh, by the way, in really big fights, including title matches, I'm not sure you change that guy. Now it's just a matchup issue of the opponent. Can the opponent study and break down? Does the opponent know what he's going into? Does the opponent have the blueprint? In this particular case, it's unique because we know that Poirier does. Not only is Poirier one of the most well-trained athletes, he's one of the most intelligent athletes himself. And not only that, he's had the experience and he's been in there with Justin. What is it that Justin can do different? I will still turn to the fact that he's got great wrestling. But nowhere in my analysis will I predict for you that he's going to use it. He never uses it. He never uses it. It's one of the things you guys love about him, man. It's one of the things that makes him so incredibly fun. But it's tough to see what's going to be different. I think they're going to exchange and trade moments. They're going to trade the energy of the fight, right? I think momentum will be on Justin's side at some point. I think momentum will go to Dustin's side at one point. I could see rounds coming to an end and you go, oh, Gaethje won that round. I could see rounds coming to an end and you go, oh, Poirier won that round. Right? It's just about what's going to be next. It's very unlikely that we get to all 25 minutes. These guys' output is just too much. It's just not designed for that. And to talk to Gaethje and tell him to take his foot off the gas a little bit and to take that same amount of energy but extend it over 25 minutes, I mean, he's not even going to know what you're saying. That is not the way he fights at all. It's a very wild situation when you consider that they've already done it. It's a very wild situation when you're saying that DraftKings has flipped. I mean, to go back in time, 2-1 favorite for Gaethje. Present time, 2-1 for Poirier, and I know I'm rounding up. I know it's tighter than that, but I think that just shows them a respect. And what an opportunity for the BMF. In an arena in Salt Lake, completely sold out. This is awesome stuff. And not to mention, right, when you're looking for motivation, you're looking to dig deep. Why do I want to win? Well, what does a win get me? And we're not to the point where we get you number one contendership yet, but we're to the point where we are discussing Islam. I think that you are a fool to believe that Charles and Islam is set. Charles has told us one time that he's going to fight Islam in October. He's told us 3 times he's not going to fight him in October. And which one should we believe? Okay, let's believe Charles. Charles says he's going to fight him. Okay, but Charles says ×3 he's not going to fight him. I'm just bringing to your attention that a backup fighter seems appropriate. You could always look to Volkanovski. That seems appropriate. But to look to the winner of Dustin and Justin also seems appropriate. So I think there is a little something extra on this match. And I think that it is a meaningful that DraftKings now, in light of what we've already seen, has changed. The same guy is doing the same thing, but they're going to do it for 5 rounds, and it's a rematch. So we know what can happen between them in the first place. They've literally flipped the odds. Which means you guys have changed where you're putting your money. It's a very interesting thing. Make no mistake, Justin Gaethje could win this fight. Make no mistake, he could stop him. He could dominate him. And make no mistake, he can get stopped and he can get dominated. This is a wildly difficult match to predict. You're safer to go with Dustin, considering you've already seen it and he already got his hand raised once. You're safer to do that, but Dustin's not the one that asked for this match. Dustin's the one that was challenged. He accepted the match. The rematch was Gaethje's idea. Gaethje felt and believes he knows something. What do you suppose it is?